Hello and welcome back to the Game Bet Match podcast. I'm your host, Mandy Friedman, along with my co-host.
Brad Sloan.
All right, back in the house, baby, after a week. It's been a week of U.S. Open action. We potted last right before the third round. We previewed the third round
Yep.
matches. So we're back to preview the final and give you a complete recap. So,
Complete recap.
yep.
There'll be a lot of recapping on this pod. There's a lot to recap.
Apologies if I lose my focus. I'm currently sweating a challenger match. I bet the over 23 games on the O'Connell-Watnuki final in Shanghai. So apologies if I lose my focus for a brief minute, but that's because I'm sweating while I'm doing this. Anything else? Any other?
Oh, Manny may sound a little different. He has sans wisdom teeth.
I do, yeah. It was a little difficult to speak, so that's why we didn't do a pod for the last week. It's getting much better. Just took a couple Advil before this pod, but I'll get through.
Manny's playing injured, so if it's a bad performance, we have an excuse built in.
Yeah, just like a bunch of players during the U.S. Open retired with injury. I felt like it was a high retirement kind of tournament.
I
No,
don't know.
maybe not in the later rounds. I guess maybe more
I
so.
don't feel like it was any worse than other years.
No,
Remember that year a few years ago there were like 10 retirements in the first round? This wasn't anything like that. I felt like there were a lot of injured guys, or a lot of guys who were like hampered but playing through things more than I felt there were like injured guys retiring.
well, that'll be me on the pod, right? I'm hampered, but
Yeah,
I'll play
exactly.
through it.
You're
So
playing through, yeah.
yeah. All right.
I
So
guess we can start there, Manny. Like, I feel like overall, it's honestly like been a pretty boring tournament. There haven't been a lot of really good matches. Like, I thought really the only great match there's been so far was last night's semi between Alcaraz and Medvedev. In terms of quality of play,
yeah,
Sinner Zverev was highly dramatic, but I didn't think it was particularly good tennis.
I'd agree with that. I
Like there
thought
were some really good points in Zverev Sinner, but I mean there was a large part of the third set when Sinner was out physically. You can say the same about Zverev physically in the fourth. And I want to get your thoughts. Like, part of me says that like the heat in the second week has just destroyed the tennis.
I do think that that's part of it. I also think that there's a discrepancy in level between a lot of guys right now. I think like there are really three players that can win this tournament, right? And before the tournament, we thought there were two, right? And now we realize that there are three.
Yeah, I guess that'll be an interesting take. We can talk about that match specifically because I'm sure we'll get to that match. But yeah,
But I think like there's a huge gap between a lot of guys, and that's why. And like the gap between Zverev and Sinner is not that big. It's probably the matchup with the least gap, right? Which is why that was the most competitive. And I do think in that particular match, the reason why the quality wasn't that great was because of the heat. Like
yeah,
kind of the quarterfinals were caught,
that was the worst round in terms of the
that was the
heat.
worst round, right? So, and
Yeah.
like you also saw in terms of score lines, like besides that Sinner Zverev match, which I think was round of 16, all the quarters were pretty easy 3-set matches,
Yeah, I
except
think some of that was style matchups too,
Tiafoe.
right? Like you had like Medvedev versus Rublev, which is like there's not that much of a difference in level between those guys, I don't think. But it's just like Rublev's never winning that matchup. Not never, but
Yeah.
it's a hard matchup for him to win, right? We've talked about that in the past, where like Medvedev, like yeah, the Russians have a hard time against Medvedev.
Mm-hmm.
You had I mean you had a gassed out Zverev. I actually think Zverev could have given Alcaraz a match if he wasn't gassed out. Like I thought it was pretty clear that Zverev didn't have a full tank. I mean, he even said in like in the pre-match interview with like that little pre-match interview on the court, he was like, "Yeah, I'll do my best," kind of thing. Like it wasn't even like a well, he didn't even sound like he really wanted to
Right.
play the match. So I actually give him credit for playing 3 sets and going out there and giving it the effort he did.
But with Zverev, I also like I feel like he thinks he's a lot he lost before he even walks on the court. Like I felt like that with Rude in the semis of the French. Like he was happy to get there. He got where he was prior to the injury, and he just kind of said, "If I lose, I lose. Whatever." Like that's a Zverev quality that he has.
Maybe I guess, but I think like Look, I hear you. I don't necessarily disagree.
Mhm.
Um,
Like
I
even
mean,
after he
this was
beat
asking a
Sinner,
lot.
but
You know,
even
for
after he beat Sinner, he's like, the on-court interview, he was like, "Oh, the next opponent is Alcaraz," and he just kind of scoffed, like he just kind of laughed, like he knew he had no chance, right? So I don't know. That's a very Zverev quality. Like I think he
yeah,
could
I would
be better.
prefer him to have a more positive attitude. I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's
I just hate Zverev. I think like
I just don't like. I don't think it would have made a difference. I guess is what I would say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think in that. Like, I don't think in that quarter would have made a difference. I do agree with you. That's a shitty attitude.
okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But I think it. But I think it. But I also think if he didn't play, like, I think that match actually matches up decently well for Zverev if he's not gassed out after 4 hours and 40 minutes the round of four. Um,
Okay.
Shelton Tiafoe. Tiafoe just didn't. I just didn't think played very well. Thought he played well below his level. And then
I
Fritz
thought
Djokovic is another just bad matchup for Fritz.
I thought he didn't show up, Tiafo. I was very disappointed with that effort against Shelton. I think he couldn't live up to the pressure of being a favorite in that big of a
He
match.
mentioned that, which is weird to me. I just don't. I don't know, man. Like, I don't. I don't. And I guess I've never been there, but like, I don't know, man. It just there's something like so there's not that bothers me. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
it
Like,
bothered me a lot, actually. Like,
yeah, like it just doesn't seem like I don't know. That doesn't seem like a very good excuse.
no, no. And I mean, I felt like the turning point in that match was that forehand that Shelton hit to save set point in the third set.
Yeah, it was for
That,
sure,
that
for
lucky
sure.
forehand. But just because he hits a lucky forehand doesn't mean that you just like you go away, right? Like you still compete,
Yeah, yeah.
and like 6-2 to Shelton in the fourth set, like that's to me, that shows lack of effort and it just shows like mental weakness. And I was very disappointed. Like that was one of the worst Tiafoe performances I can remember. Like, so his last two Grand Slam losses were the Dimitrov one in at Wimbledon, followed by this one. And like Tiafoe's way low on my list, right? Like he's I don't like what I'm seeing from him.
May I do have to take a little bit of a little time out with that comment about that being one of the worst Dimitrov or Tiafoe losses in memory. I thought he played way better in that Shelton loss than he did in the Raonic loss.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, okay, add the Raonic loss. So you have the Dimitrov loss, the Raonic loss, and you have the Shelton loss. Like those three losses, those are not good. All
He
three of them.
does seem anxious. Like his energy level. I mean, it's more like his energy. Like I was surprised at how little energy he had for a night match in New York for that match.
Yeah,
I would
because
have thought the energy level would have been
because
way
he was the
higher.
favorite and he wasn't getting 100% of the crowd support.
Yeah, that's what he mentioned. I just, oh man, I don't know.
Like that's a weak excuse. Like
Yeah,
Djokovic and Medvedev get like what 10% of the crowd support.
yeah,
They're fine. They're in the final.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Like Jesus. Like so
Yeah, I
he
think it was just like more unfortunate. I think a lot of it was just unfortunate matchups, like or just unfortunate circumstances. But yeah, pretty disappointing, honestly. Pretty disappointing tournament. Like really, like I said, the only like that Alcaraz Medvedev match was great last night. We can talk more about that. But other than that, man, like there were two four setters.
Mhm.
Or no, I guess there were some like the fourth round had some decent ones, but like the fourth round, the only match where both players won a set was Shelton Paul. I thought Paul played pretty poorly in that match too, to be
I
honest.
agree. I agree with that.
Um, Draper Rublev, I wasn't surprised by that result at all. Demon or Medvedev, where like Medvedev weirdly like looked like he was ill the first set and like he needed like to. I remember they came out with like an inhaler or something for him after in the
Yeah.
middle of the first set. I think that was the issue there. And then the Zverev Sinner match, which was awesome from like a drama and competitiveness perspective. It was a really fun match to
Yeah.
watch, but I didn't think the tennis level was amazing throughout. Definitely some lulls there from both players.
Well, the same question marks came into play with Sinner. Like he barely could last 2.5 sets. And like I understand it was hot and humid, but like it doesn't the concerns are still there. Whatever concerns we had prior to this event are still there with Sinner. He can't last a
So
full
like two things in tennis that are unbettable right now. Sinner on any futures,
Mm-hmm.
and Draper matches.
Well, Draper didn't retire. Let's give him credit for that.
Right, but like I think this year he still is retired in like 20% of his losses, which is like a disaster from a betting perspective, right? Because like we're playing for like maybe 5% EV. Like from a betting perspective, we're playing to like say, okay, like you and I, yeah. I mean, so like if we think the line should be plus 150 and it's plus 200, like that's massive, right? We got called out for saying that on by Klaus on the Tommy Paul Fokina line,
Right.
right? And like, but in reality, like we thought it was maybe like 8 to 10% like difference, like in terms of who could win the match. So like if you're giving up 20% EV because a guy might retire, like that's massive.
That's terrible.
Like you can't
Yeah.
give that up. Like that's just not a like that. You're just never gonna win if you do that. So like it's just a nightmare. Like
I mean, I'm honestly surprised he didn't retire. Like, that's how crazy it is that like we're surprised
I
when
was surprised he didn't retire too because he actually looked pretty gassed. Draper
he
did in the
did.
fourth set. I thought he was just gonna say goodbye after losing the
Right.
third, but
The third, yeah. And that's not like he does that all the time. And it's like the fact that we're surprised that
I
he
mean, I
can
think he's done it like
match.
5 times this year or something insane. It's not, you know what I
Right.
mean, or 5 times in the last year and a half. Like it's not a rare thing for him.
Right. Right.
Um, I
Yeah.
guess a fun guy to talk about. I mean, we started talking about this. Like, I'm not really that impressed still by Shelton.
Me neither.
Like, I thought he benefited. You know, like this sounds so shitty to say for a guy who made the semis of the Australian Open. And look, it's a great run for him, but I thought he got pretty good circumstances. Like Tiafoe played well below his level. I thought Paul played a pretty poor match against him. Karatsev went away. Team was competitive until his stomach gave out.
Yeah.
He lost a set to Kachin in the first round. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think he used like what let's talk about like the Paul and Tiafoe matches. Like, I think he used the crowd's energy more to his favor than Paul and Tiafoe did.
well, he's better at
Did
that,
that help
right?
him?
Like, he's better at that. And he's
Tiafoe
also
is
like,
better when he gets 100% of it. If one person in the crowd is not for Tiafoe, Tiafoe's gonna lose. That's how I'm gonna handicap his matches now because it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
yeah.
it's very disappointing. But yeah, Shelton, he just used the crowd to his advantage, and he played that underdog role perfectly.
Well, but like but I also think like it was more that it had an impact on like his shots are impressive, right? He is something. I mean, like when he drills the ball, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we've talked about this. Like he's not showing that he has much more rally tolerance than he did previously. Like I don't know. I just felt like it just felt like his opponents happened to miss more this tournament than they usually do. Like yeah, I don't know. Like yeah, like Paul didn't play very well. Tiafoe just didn't
Um,
give any energy.
One thing I do give credit to Shelton is his fitness. I think his fitness is at a pretty high level because he was able to endure those hot conditions better than Paul and Tiafoe were.
Yeah, ironically, like he's like the anti Demon War, but it's sort of the same thing. We had a chat. What was it, 3-4 weeks ago? And we had Miles David on the pod, and we said that, and I think it was me who said that, like Demon Or gets lucky a lot, but he's also like the epitome of like when preparation meets opportunity, and
Yep.
he's always prepared in the opportunity. He always like sets himself up for opportunities. I
Right.
think Shelton's kind of the same way, or at least this tournament he was the same way because his energy level, like when his energy level was up, like he gave himself the opportunity. So you credit him with that, right? Like he was fit, he was ready, he gave himself the opportunity, and like it's not his fault that every guy that was in front of him like fell apart.
Right. Yeah.
But I
And
also don't know that it gets me that much more excited from a betting perspective to bet him going forward.
yeah, I'm not going to overreact here and be like,
Like I don't. My opinion on Shelton hasn't changed very much. Like he'll probably become a fade for me.
well, and I think we're going to get good value because like, indoor hard courts, like theoretically, it's probably a good part of the season for him,
Well,
right?
yeah, it's gonna be tough because like either the quick courts in Asia or the indoor hards you'll have like good spots for him, but he'll be an overrated player. So it actually might end up being like
Yeah, without crowd support, right? And besides the Australian Open and the US Open, he's been pretty mediocre at best.
But a lot of that's been on non-hard court surfaces where he has extremely limited experience.
That's fair, but like Indian Wells and Miami were pretty bad. I understand that those are slower courts, but
Well, that's my point, right? If it's like surfaces that suit him, offset by no crowd support, offset by he's probably slightly overrated. We'll see what the lines look like. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be like it'll be interesting to see. I think there might be some value on it, but there also might not be. Because it might be one of these like things where like every spot is a good Shelton spot, but like the line is so overcooked that you can't take it, kind of thing.
But if he's such a big favorite because of this US Open run, like, or he's going to be favored. The books are going to react to this probably more positively than we are. I think we're going to get good value on the dog.
I just don't know because like it'll also be on courts that favor Shelton, right? So then you'll have to factor that in, and I feel like it'll kind of like it might end up kind of like offsetting.
So like, okay, let me give you an example. So if he's playing like Christopher O'Connell, who's playing in this challenger match that I'm watching currently, on a fast court like in Shanghai, for example, and Shelton is I would say minus 400 favorite.
See, I don't think the books will put well.
They probably will.
If they do, then yeah, I would say that, right? But like we'll have to see what they do. I guess that's the whole speculation, right? Is what would that theoretical line be? And that's why I don't know.
Like I'm not gonna bet Albert Ramos Vinolas against him, right? Like on a fast court. I'm not gonna do that, right? But on a fast court where he's playing another good fast court player, I think his favored odds are gonna be inflated.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
we'll see.
Yeah. So I mean, and Shelton, like credit to him, he dug in the third set. I actually think that was a little bit more bad Djokovic than good Shelton.
Djokovic. I don't think Djokovic played that entire match very well, to be honest. Even the first two sets, I didn't think he was very good. I mean, but it was tough too because it felt like I guess talk about that match, like it felt like I don't know what the right sports analogy is, but like when one team is just better and like plays just like ultra conservative because like they just want to minimize variance. And it felt like that's what Djokovic was trying to do, was just be ultra conservative, minimize variance. Like look at his return positioning. Like he didn't attack, and I know it's hard to attack Shelton's serve, but he basically just like blocks serves back, which is very un-Djokovic like.
Yeah.
It also seemed like he took a lot off the first serve and just really tried to like make first. I don't know what his first serve percentage was for the match, but watching the match, it felt like he wasn't like it just felt like in general
he won such a low percentage of second serve points. He won like 32% of his second.
Yeah, that's the overall takeaway. But I mean, I thought the more interesting stat there was that he made 68% of first serves with only 5 aces, which is a low number for Djokovic. Usually you'd expect that to be up in like the 10 range.
It was not a good serving percentage, like a serving performance from him. And like to get broken by Shelton twice is not.
But I felt like it wasn't the serve that was the issue, right? Like it was just like he just didn't like, he didn't like he went ultra like that's what I'm saying. I felt like he went ultra conservative because he made 68% of first serves, which is high for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's usually down in the lower 60s, and he only hit 5 aces. And it didn't even really look like he was trying to hit aces or even unreturnables. It looked like he was just like trying to get into points and just like play a really low, like, I don't know, just play like.
I mean, he also didn't allow Shelton to ace him very much too, because Shelton had, I think, only 4 aces. So he kind of took like a Medvedev approach.
Yeah, Shelton had 5. Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly. Yeah. Which was cool to see because I thought it was really, 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 really smart from Djokovic. And like, I don't know, I think Djokovic is one of like 5 or 10 guys on the tour who like you actually do have to like really understand that he's intelligent, is going to execute strategies when you try to bet his matches. Whereas like most guys, like I feel like you can like be like, oh, Musetti should try this strategy against O'Connell, but like, is he going to? Probably not.
Probably not. Well, I feel like Djokovic didn't think about that. He probably still doesn't realize what Djokovic did to this day.
I don't know if it would have mattered though. Like we had this conversation. Like how does Shelton win? Like what does Shelton do to try to win that match?
I mean, he has very limited tools, right? Like
It's
we
blast and
said this
pray. Like
already.
that's his only way to
Blast
win.
and
Like
pray.
if he tries to which is basically what he did. Like if he tries to play the correct counter strategy to what you're saying, Manny,
Yeah.
he doesn't have enough he doesn't have enough to win that way. Like I think that's what Djokovic realized, that like he could just do that, and Shelton had no counter. And it's almost like watching it's like watching like Shaq post up on like guys in like the mid '90s in basketball.
Right.
Well, like it wasn't very exciting. Like Shaq wasn't doing anything interesting. Like maybe late '90s Shaq, but like watching like late '90s, early 2000s Shaq post up against like Brad Miller or something in basketball, when like it didn't matter. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't that exciting, but like it didn't need to be exciting. Like there was no way anybody was going to stop him. He was just going to, all he did was just like stand in front of him and just dribble, dunk, and
Yeah.
like.
I mean, I do think Shelton did some dumb things. So like he took out the drop shot. It's like some
But
important points.
honestly, like, can Shelton hit a short forehand? I don't know if he can. Because like the way he rockets that ball so hard, that's a really hard shot to make short in the court. You don't have a
Yeah,
lot of room
but
to get
how
up and
about how
down.
about slice it deep and at least force him to pass?
Do you think that
Probably gonna
Shelton
make
has a
him
deep
pass.
slice forehand though? Like, I think I don't know if you're asking him to do things that he doesn't have it. But you gotta remember, this kid's so raw. And you can see it when he plays. He just doesn't like. How often do you see Shelton slice anything?
Yeah, I mean these are improvements he needs to make, and I hear what you're saying.
Like he needs, what Shelton needs is, and like I don't know how he's gonna do it. Like, and it's an interesting thing because like I wonder for these guys, like, so like Mickelson's a really good example, right? Michelson coming up is a really good example. Like, I still think he should have gone to Georgia. I think he chose not to go. And
Mhm,
I think he should have gone for a year or two, because I think it would have given him like an opportunity to work on his game.
mhm.
It feels to me like the way the Pro Tour is designed, it's got to be really hard to work on things on the Pro Tour, because you just have so many like super important matches, right? Like every week matters for these challenger level guys. Like, when do you get a chance to actually work on stuff and improve things?
Well, now Shelton has a couple weeks. I mean, he's going to play Laver Cup in a couple weeks, but like he's not playing
He
before
doesn't
that.
give a shit about Labor Cup.
He
Maybe
does.
he doesn't actually. I don't
He
know.
does. But I know you don't, right? But like no, but now he has a couple weeks. He has like he has 2 weeks, so now he should be grinding away on the practice tour on the practice court, trying to improve his game. I mean, like I understand it's really tough and stuff, but this is their job. And I that's why I respect these guys so much, and that's why I love the ATP tour, because it's so tough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I
I'm just
mean,
saying. I think it's like legitimately like, regardless. I'm not even saying like of how tough or not tough these guys are. I think it's really hard to find time for these guys to work on things. Because like, okay, he gets this little 2 week break, Shelton, but like, how much is he like? Like, how much is he going to work on in 2 weeks?
just get a basket of balls and start hitting some sliced backhands. I don't know. I mean, like,
Is 2 weeks enough to learn a slice backhand? I don't know, man. I don't think
no,
it
it's
is.
not. But like, there's time. There's time when he can work on things. I mean,
But it's limited, and like then you've got to decide what to do with. Like, to use that time to rest. Use like you know what I mean. You got it put these positions. I think the tour is really tough. I think the tour really should go to a longer off season. I don't know how they do it, but I know there's been a lot of calls for that. But I feel like trying to wrap things up by the end of October would be really a good move by the tour.
it would, but then these guys would just play exhibitions because there's so much money in it, right? Like,
You might be right. Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of the guys did play exos all December, right? So yeah, it's a good
so I
question.
actually would rather them just keep playing tournaments, right? And like actual tournaments that mean something than have like 2 months of exos, you
Yeah,
know?
you might be right. You might be right.
So
Yeah, you
I
might be
don't know.
right.
But yeah, I mean that's Shelton. I mean, betting wise, it was a terrible match for me.
Yeah, I did quite poorly on both semis. It was a sad time. Overall, the
Yeah,
tournament was good, but the semis were quite sad
yeah.
in terms of betting.
Well, just the Shelton one. I had under 5.5 break points versus Djokovic, and that was painful because that loss in that final game.
Well, that
That
last
that
set
would
was painful because, like I said, I didn't think Djokovic played very well at all the whole match, to be honest. Like, even when he was in control of the first two sets, it didn't really seem like I didn't really see like Djokovic doing anything like,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, that was his strategy though. He wasn't really trying to be flashy, as you said. It was just a
Yeah,
smart
yeah.
strategy to get through that. Um, I mean, we lost on the set one over 9.5, but that's because like Djokovic actually likes starting to serve first, so that's a very risky bet. I think he served first like every match.
Yeah, I was more thinking that if Shelton won the toss, he would choose to serve first. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like if you have that big serve, you should probably choose to serve first also. And then also, I was hoping that Shelton wouldn't get broken the first, or I was hoping that Shelton could not get broken for the first 4 games.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I had Shelton minus 5.5 double faults on the double fault spread. I just thought like he actually didn't double that much, but I thought he would just go huge on second serves because he
which he
knew.
did quite a bit. He
Yeah,
just seemed to make a
credit,
lot of them.
yeah, he did. Credit to him, but like I just thought he would miss a ton because like that's really your only way of winning points, right? Making progression on the serve.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, yeah, yeah. And it was interesting because I do feel like they were trying to they were definitely trying to coach him. Like his dad was trying to coach him quite a bit in the box. But it's in like serving strategy, I think is like the one area where these coaches actually can really coach.
Mhm.
I just it seems really hard to like coach somebody on their backhand because like it's just such a reactive thing, right? Like how are you gonna like tell them to
Yeah.
how are they actually gonna remember by the time the point starts, But like serve, it feels like you could tell the guy like go wide or go body and like they can remember that, for 5 seconds until they have to go hit the ball. Like
Well, I felt like Djokovic was trying to pin him to the backhand side because like he knew that Shelton couldn't hurt him there, right? Like,
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, look, like Djokovic always plays a smart tactical match. So saying that Djokovic played a smart tactical match like, isn't interesting, but I agree. I thought he played a tactical
yeah,
match.
yeah. All right, so let's hang up the phone on that match. I guess we could talk about Alcaraz and his run here at the U.S. Open.
I mean,
Um,
I thought it was fine up until and I think fine is the right word,
yeah,
because it was kind of like expected, yeah. But the expectations were like almost perfection.
yeah. The expectations are him to win the tournament, and that's the correct expectation based on what he's shown, right? Like,
Right. But even like the first rounds, like he wasn't really significantly challenged by anyone, but like he also wasn't expected to be. So it's like I don't know. And then like I thought the match against Medvedev, and then like when you get to the tougher players where like he could exceed expectations, Zverev was gassed out, so he didn't really have the opportunity there.
I did think he
Um,
played a good match, though.
I thought he played good. I thought he played like good. I didn't
Okay,
think he played like incredible. I thought it was just I mean like it was I don't know. It was like met expectations.
okay, fair.
Um and then I mean he did not meet expectations in the Medvedev match. Not just not winning, but I also thought he just didn't play like he had opportunities to do better than what he did. Like I thought Medvedev. I mean Medvedev said he played a 12 out of 10. I would agree with that.
Mhm.
I guess that's the question. So and I know what your answer is going to be. I know what my answer is going to be. But what
Mhm.
is your takeaway from a betting perspective from the Medvedev Alcaraz match?
It's not really much, to be honest. I don't really have like a negative outlook on Alcaraz because of this loss, to be honest. Like, I think he didn't really execute as well, but I also think that that's because Medvedev played so much better and he served so much better. I do think Alcaraz serve and volleyed a little bit too much. I think like Medvedev tries to bait you into that play because he stands so far back, but he's so good, especially when he's on, at pinning that return down low to your feet that it's not always the best play. I thought that the serve to stay back and use the drop shot would have actually been a better like a play that he didn't implement enough. Like I do think you need to throw the serve and volley in there, but you also need to throw in that stay back and drop shot or like the serve plus one and then come in. And I feel like he was just too eager to come in. And that's kind of where I thought Alcaraz kind of didn't show much maturity from a tactical perspective in that match, especially in that fourth set, which when it got like really tight both ways.
I agree with you. I guess my question is, but my counter question, that would be like, how many guys would implement that nuance of a game plan? Like I Djokovic could. I don't know if many other guys honestly could.
Well, that's the standard that we're talking about. These are the top of the top who have that ability. So I think that
Yeah, but I guess like I'm not
we're
gonna
not talking
say
about
that
Taylor
like
Fritz here.
no, I know, but like I'm not saying that, but like I don't put Alcaraz on par with Djokovic tactically. Yeah, like there's a massive gap there still tactically. Like I think his tactics are good. I think they're better than average, but I think they're like I
I
think they're
agree, but
he makes
but
plenty of bad tactical decisions during match. Like that still is an area of improvement for him. Is my point.
right, right. Um,
Yeah.
and he's so superior athletically and shot making wise that like I don't think that I'm really gonna alter my betting strategy with him. Like I think he's a deserved to be a favorite against pretty much anyone, right? Like I don't think that
Yeah.
changes. I also don't think Medvedev can replicate this kind of level consistently. Like this was one of the best matches.
No, no, and then that's my takeaway is that like so I said on the podcast back after Djokovic beat Medvedev or after not Djokovic after Alcaraz beat Medvedev that this was like that Medvedev would win 1 out of 8. I think that was my quote is I think
Yeah,
Medvedev would win about 1 out of 8 of these matches just because like random variance.
right.
And my takeaway is I felt like this was the 1 of the 8 was last night. You know what I mean? Like I don't like I still think it's like a 1 out of I think it's like a 1 out of 8 where Medvedev has to play out of his mind, which he did, and Djokovic has to be a little or not Djokovic. Alcaraz has to be a little bit off, which he was. But like even in terms of this matchup, like I still have the same opinion. Like I still have the same opinion as I like as
Um,
I
I have a similar opinion. Like I think if they played 10 times, I think it would probably be Alcaraz 7-3. I don't think it would be like
oh
9.
wow, okay, so I think it'd be like 8-2 or 9-1.
Because I do think
Then we're a little bit off.
Medvedev figured out some certain things that Alcaraz doesn't like. Like what Medvedev was doing yesterday is he was going bigger on the forehand. I think he realized like he would just kind of have to go after the ball um more. Like I feel like in Indian Wells and Wimbledon he was just too passive. And I do think he caught on to that. Um and I felt like his return position, even though he was standing so far deep, was very good. And he would like stay like he would be way in the back, but then like as soon as Alcaraz tossed the ball, he would take a couple steps to the right because like he was protecting that wide serve, and that's why he got such a good read on it. Like so I felt like now he kind of has a read on what Alcaraz is doing, and I think going forward he's going to have more success, you know?
Okay.
But that's just how I think. I
Yeah,
also
I'll disagree there. I think that like that's all nice and well. That's all nice and well, but like it leaves him vulnerable to other things, right? Like Alcaraz has the variety to like he can start serving more down the tee, right? He has the variety to make adjustments himself.
okay.
And then secondly, that's all well and good, but Medvedev still had to play amazing tennis. Like he still had to play better than you know what I mean? He still had to play amazing tennis. Like I still just think it's a horrible matchup for Medvedev. Like that's it doesn't change my opinion of that. Like
So, do you still think that this matchup is worse for it's worse for Medvedev to play Alcaraz than it is for him to play Djokovic?
oh, way worse, way
Way
worse,
worse.
no doubt. Yeah, like I
Even
think he beats Djokovic roughly 3 out of 10 times. I
okay.
think he beats Alcaraz like 1 to 2.
That's interesting you say that because you always say that Djokovic is better tactically than Alcaraz. So you think Alcaraz is that much better from a physical perspective?
I think it's the matchup, right? Like what Medvedev struggles with is guys who just out athlete him.
Okay.
Right. And like what you can do against Medvedev is like that's Medvedev's limitation, right? Is that like Medvedev has limitations, like pretty significant ones, right? Like he's not great at coming in. He's not really very quick. He's not like he doesn't have the hand-eye coordination, the quickness of some of the other players. So yeah, like he's got like pretty significant limitations that I think Alcaraz can take advantage of, just because Alcaraz has so much and he has so many more tools in the bag that like
does, but Medvedev has more patience. And I think that's another thing he utilized. Like I felt like in Indian Wells and Wimbledon, he pressed a lot. Like he didn't know he wanted to play his more defensive style, but at the same time, he didn't feel comfortable doing that, right? And he was pressing mentally and emotionally. Whereas here he just felt so much at ease. And the fact that he's beaten him, I think this is going to create an Alcaraz Medvedev rivalry. I don't think it's going to be as one.
I don't see that. That's why I just I don't
you don't
think
think
like
so?
no, I think it's like I think all this is easy to say like after the fact, right? And it's all easy to like it's easy to say like we're saying the tactics for Medvedev were great because they worked. Right? But if they didn't work, we wouldn't say they were great tactics.
I thought, but my takeaway from the match is that Medvedev played amazing and his tactics obviously worked. But I also think that Alcaraz's tactics were not spot on.
Which I agree with all that, right? But like, I don't think 8 out of 10 times, I don't think it matters. Alcaraz is just going to win anyways. Maybe 9 out of 10.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, I can't wait for this matchup to happen again. But I'm definitely going to adjust the way I bet this particular matchup.
So I won't. That's my takeaway here. Is I won't. I'm okay. Gonna.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna go, minus 2.5 sets, minus 6 games. I'm not gonna go nuts, with
Alcaraz. Okay. I still will. Like I do think I think this was like because like I said, I think like if Medvedev plays at his normal level, all the stuff we're saying about all the great stuff Medvedev did is like, and Medvedev was he was better mentally and emotionally and all that stuff. Like I think it's all related to the fact that he was just playing really good tennis. Like when you're playing well, it's easy to do all that stuff.
The thing which puzzles me about Medvedev a little bit is that like it doesn't really matter his form. He can just kind of show up and play amazing at a random point. Right?
Yeah.
He's done this before. Like what's a good example? Like I think in 21 when he won this tournament, like he lost at the Olympics, he lost to Carreño Busta, right? And then I
guess Olympics are always weird though. I don't know. I put Olympics in a different bucket.
He did win Toronto, I guess, but like I don't know. It's like I didn't think I thought Medvedev was good, like leading up to this match, but like nothing suggested that this kind of level would come out.
Yeah.
So whereas with Alcaraz, like just viewing the summer as a whole, I'd probably give him a B, right? Like it wasn't great. This was a disappointment, kind of.
I think a B is generous.
Okay. B minus?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he played a great match versus Djokovic in Cincinnati, right? So he probably should get some sort of uptick for that. But really, other than that, I thought it was pretty disappointing overall. Like he lost a set to everybody in Cincinnati. That's below par. Lost to Tommy Paul in Toronto. That's below par. So
yeah, but then again, he's not playing to cash our bets. He's
no, but he also doesn't want to be dropping sets to Max Purcell.
Okay. But at his age, I kind of give him the credit for finding ways to win despite not playing your best. Like I think that's a great quality to have, especially at his age.
That's nice. That's fine. I still don't think he played very well.
Okay.
Like if you want to judge him to a top 5 standard, that's a top 5 standard, right?
But that to me, that's a top 5 quality. The fact that you're not playing your best.
Yeah, but I don't like when it's happening repeatedly.
Okay, so
when it happens in a match or two, fine. Like I'm not going to judge him for like a luck. I'm not going to be like, oh my god, he lost to Taro Daniel a set in Roland Garros. He sucks. I think it was Roland Garros who also said Taro Daniel, right?
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, like so I'm not gonna say that, but like I think when it's happening repeatedly over and over again, like he didn't have like I mean like what performing the Cincinnati final was great against Djokovic and he still lost that. I mean honestly in terms of the overall result, I thought it was like par. Right, like I expect him to compete with Djokovic. Um, so yeah, I didn't think it was great.
Yeah, his best match was probably Arnaldi.
Yeah,
Right? Like, yeah, it's I mean, and then we'll see. I mean, now like, he's gonna be number two. It's gonna be actually hard for him to get back to the number one ranking now that he doesn't like, he loses what, 1,200 points from this? And Djokovic gains all that points, and they were pretty close coming into the Open. So like he's gonna have to make up some serious ground. I know he doesn't have much to defend, but this is probably the worst part of the year coming up for him, right?
well, but is it like is it like why would it be the worst part of the year for him?
Because I think the serves play up. He doesn't like win that many free points with the serve. Like he's gonna be good, don't get me wrong. I just think like it's gonna be hard for him to dominate here.
I think it's really hard to judge because I think last year I think last year was just gas after the U.S. Open. I think that's pretty obvious in my
What's
mind.
Does anything suggest that it won't happen again this year? Like he's
No, but I think that's the issue more than like I think that's the question is how much is left in the tank
okay.
for the year.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because he didn't even play World Tour Finals last year, did he?
No, he got hurt. He had that abdominal
Yeah,
held him out of the
yeah,
Australian. So I think
yeah,
once the Australian comes out, like then Novak's points will come off. Like it's the reverse of what happened here. Novak's points will come
yeah.
off.
These guys are going to trade off and on for a while. They're pretty similar in terms of skill level. There's going to be probably a few more swaps back and forth.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Anything else in terms of takeaways? Like what about earlier in the event? Um,
They looked really good against Djokovic.
Jiri?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a great match. That was probably one of my best betting matches, to be honest. The Gier set one money line at plus 900. I hit.
yeah, that was pretty good.
The plus 9 games was a push.
Yeah,
Uh, I had over 9.5 games in set one at plus 220. I think you had that too. That was a bet of the day. That was a great cash. So in terms of betting, that was fantastic. Jiri is good. I mean, he's not a guy that you really want to see in your draw because he just makes so many balls. And he's
yeah.
a mover, and I mean, I that's probably Djokovic's toughest matchup, and I think that having that match is actually going to help him against Medvedev because like basically the way I view it is like Medvedev is like a better version of Laszlo Jiri. They're actually quite similar.
I disagree, but I can see where you're coming from.
Okay.
It's just a very different ball they hit and a very different stroke.
Okay, but I think that their tactics and their limitations are similar.
I think really the only real similarity is that both of them aren't that good coming forward.
Okay.
And both of them don't really have like the variety when it comes to like, playing like I mean, Derek probably plays a better slice than Medvedev. But like it's like there's still not a lot of variety out of either of those guys. So that's kind of what I would say. Like I think that's similar, but other than that, I wouldn't consider them very similar players.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know that anybody is like who is similar to Medvedev. Maybe Cam Nori, and they have a similar kind of like shovelly backhand stroke.
Yeah, but Nori has way more spin on the forehand.
Yeah, like who is similar to Medvedev? I don't think anybody is. I think that's part of the problem in playing him is that he's just so different than everybody else.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that match, like I just I don't have too many takeaways. Like I just think Laszlo Jiri played great first two sets, and he just, as soon as Djokovic turned the momentum, like he wasn't letting go of it, right? And that,
Well, he just has so many limitations, Jerry. Right? Like the fact
yeah,
that he can't volley, there's such a limitation against Djokovic.
right.
Like,
It is. It is.
and he's not good enough to like out hit him from the baseline and like consistency wise, right? Like he's just so
Yeah.
like like it's just he just is hard to win a match. I wanted to play a little popcorn with kind of the surprise of the tournament. So your thoughts on Arnaldi?
Arnaldi,
Yeah.
I like him. I do. I have a very the arrow, the green arrow is there with our next to Arnaldi's name, in my opinion. I just I think he's a good all around player. I think he has a good serve, good forehand, good attitude. He's improving, like the trajectory's up, just like from being basically a challenger level player to being now a mainstay on the ATP tour. Like it's impressive. And like I didn't think he played poorly against Alcaraz. Like I thought he dug in and made it competitive. Like, each set was one break, but like he actually got the break in the third set, and then Alcaraz broke back and then, ultimately pulled away. I thought the match versus Nori, I mean, that was probably one of my best bet matches as well. Just because like Nori was just way overvalued there.
Oh,
Um,
way overvalued. That was a joke.
that was
Like, I really wish I had taken the Arnaldi money line. I didn't, but I
uh,
really wish I had. Like, and I should. I just thought the set one was better because I was worried about the long match with Fees before that. So here's Arnaldi versus Fees. Who do you like better? Is Arnaldi going to get in the top 10 by the end of 2024?
I actually thought that was one of the matches of the tournament. Not top 10. I feel like Feast has slightly more firepower and just upside, I would say.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
But
I'm just teasing because of the dinner bet.
I know, but I top 20 wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think it's a question of time, but yeah, I think I agree.
Hmm.
Um,
What about you? What's your thought on him?
I agree with everything you said. I don't really have anything to add to that. You know what I mean? I think it's a
Okay.
pretty good take.
Okay.
Um, Rinky Jikata, my boy Rinky. I made so much money on Rinky this tournament.
I know. I wasn't impressed. He is who we thought he is. I think he it was a product of a good draw.
I agree.
Pavel Kotov, tough four setter. Like, does that really show me anything? Not really. Then like a completely fatigued Zhizhen Zhang, right? Who
I agree.
was gassed after two five setters prior to that against Rude and Wolf. And then who
Yeah.
else did he play? Oh, Fuchs.
He beat Fusevitz 2-1 and 2, which
Yeah.
nobody does that to Martin Fusevitz. Like, I mean, Sinner lost two sets
I
to Fusevitz,
know.
so clearly Rinky's better than Sinner.
Zapata won more games against Djokovic than than Fucsovics. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I have no thought on Rinky. He is who I thought he is, like a solid baseliner who's going to make you play a bunch of balls, right? And like he's going to fight, but he's just limited,
I
like
think he is better on quicker courts, though. Like, I think he's an interesting guy to look at for this Asian court swing. I think he's got like a little bit of
it's a demon effect,
potential.
right?
What?
It's a demon effect. All those diminutive Australian guys like Thompson, Demonor, Hijikata, like Duckworth, like they all prefer quicker courts.
Yeah.
All kind of
Yeah.
play the same way, right? Like
Yeah.
ball on the rise, like so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I do think he has some like, like some like whatever you want to call it, like I call it like top 70 appeal, I guess would make sense. Like where I think
okay.
he's like to say he's like good is probably a stretch, but like to say he's like uh there might be some room to play him in some of these 250s. Like that's why I think it's interesting to take like that. That's something you actually might be able to capitalize on from a betting perspective. Whereas I feel like I'll probably treat Rinky like a guy ranked borderline like 70 on these faster courts in the rest of the hard court swing.
I'm gonna lower it to 80, but yeah, potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Let me throw one at you. Borna Gojo.
I don't know, man. Like, so beating Vesely to me was not impressive. Vesely was gas. Um I never know what to think about somebody who beats Mackey. Like, he's got a nice serve, good forehand. I was impressed by the way he played against Djokovic. He played like a much higher variance strategy against Djokovic. I thought that was really smart, like tactically. Like,
Hmm.
we kind of talked about it in the Shelton match, right? Like this was similar. It was like,
Yeah,
yeah, he did stuff you generally consider to be stupid, but like if he would have played a normal strategy against Djokovic, he would have gotten kills. Like you may as well try to like do things that could win rather than things that like
right.
winning. Like winning 2 out of 6 points does you no good in tennis. So you may as well go for it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
but
credit to him. I didn't think he had that in him. And that's why I bet the under 18 and a half games against Djokovic. And credit to him. He got the break in the second set and he forced it to, I think, 7-5.
yeah, but other than that, I mean, his other wins were Hugo Delian. Like Hugo,
Yeah,
probably one of the worst five guys in the draw on a hard
probably.
court. Mackey, who like you just never know with Mackey, and
Yeah.
Vesely, who's completely gassed out. So yeah, not
That
much.
was
I
one of
mean,
the worst lines, I think, of the entire tournament. Gojo and Vesely, the over under was 41. I think that's one of the worst lines of the tournament.
yeah, I don't know how it could be that. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's like
I
Vesely
put
was so
2 or 3
gassed.
units on the under there because it's just
Yeah.
like, how is Vesely going to last?
Yeah, I didn't because I was worried about Vesely winning a set, and then like if he wins a set,
Um,
and it's like 7-6. If he wins the first set, then you're screwed. Like,
okay, that's fair.
but yeah, and then the last guy um was gonna be our boy, or not our boy, really match point nine's boy, Big Dom Stricker.
Big down Stricker. The guy's talented. I like what I saw. Um I don't feel like he really gassed out against Fritz.
No, I just think Fritz is just a better player than him, right? Like that's just like
Right.
I actually thought he showed himself pretty well against Fritz. Like that was a competitive match.
Yeah, wasn't he up a break in this first set? Didn't he
I think
serve in the
Stricker
first
was.
set?
He might have been, or else there were. I think they exchanged breaks. He might have been down a break and broken it for
Yeah,
the
it
first
could
three
be
to get
something
back in the
like that,
set. But
right?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty competitive match. I mean, I know he lost all 3 sets, but yeah, I was, you know,
Yeah, I think he just needs to get a little bit fitter, right? Like,
yeah, I think that's the easy take. Um, 'Cause I think it's the obvious take, but I don't necessarily disagree with it. I also think he needs to get a little bit better at like, he's kind of like a less flashy version of Shelton, right? Like he needs to get better at like getting balls in the court.
mhm.
Still has to play a super aggressive strategy, super flat, like. But yeah.
I do think he has a little bit more variety than Shelton.
Oh
Like
yeah, I
he has
agree with
better
that.
rally
Yeah.
tolerance. Like if you have to pick one guy to have a higher ranking by the end of 2024, who would you pick? Stricker or Shelton?
I'm gonna go Shelton.
Shelton.
Shelton's got such little tennis experience, right? Like there's just so much upside there. Like,
He has a way better serve. So I'd probably go Shelton too. But I do like Stricker's upside on the slower courts, like on grass and clay, way better, right? So if he could like earn a lot of points during that portion of the season, that's going to put pressure on Stricker and on Shelton, you know.
well, I mean, Shelton, I don't think really cares about whether or not he
Yeah,
has
that's
more
true.
match
That's
point
true. They're not really
or
competing,
bet,
but
but
yeah,
like,
it's a good
but
point.
yeah, no, but I hear your point there because he has more experience than Shelton on those surfaces. But like again, like I guess it depends. Like how do you value Shelton not having experience? So I think that's like that means he has more upside by definition, right? The fact that he's doing this well with such little experience, like, and it's true. And like if you want somebody who's had a high trajectory, it's Shelton. Like a year ago, Shelton was a challenger player. A year before that, he was fifth singles at University of Florida.
Yeah.
So like the trajectory on Shelton has been massive. To be fair to him, like.
Yeah, but the better you get, the harder it is to improve, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for
So,
sure.
yeah. All right. Anyone else we want to talk about?
I don't really have much else.
Tommy Paul.
I mean, disappointing match against Shelton, but other than that, I don't think anything like, I don't know. Like, I haven't put Paul in a class yet where I think he can avoid disappointing matches. You know what I mean? Like
I hear what you're saying.
it's slightly below expectation, but like I haven't put Tommy Paul in my like top 10 yet where he gets these top 10 expectations. So
I felt like he was playing pretty close to top 10 tennis against like Alcaraz in Toronto and Cincinnati. Like I thought he had two really good tournaments.
yeah, I mean I guess that's the thing too, right? But like, okay, so I guess that's the point, right? Like, yeah, it was like I said, disappointing performance against Shelton, no doubt. But if he puts in 13 good matches and one bad match, are we gonna be upset? Like, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. I don't like, I think losing two sets to Safiullin is not good either, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, I'd prefer to lose more
Fokina match
sets.
was okay, but like I think that was more bad Fokina, especially in those first two sets. Like if Fokina played the way he did in the third set and the other sets,
It probably goes five.
different matchup. Probably goes
Yeah,
five. That's a match you could lose. Um,
yeah.
so I don't know. I'm not. I expected more from Paul here. We bet him to win the quarter, right? He had an easy quarter. That's a quarter you need
Yeah,
to take advantage of. So that's a lost opportunity for him for sure. He shouldn't be losing to Shelton. He really shouldn't.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I agree. I thought that match for rest of summer pretty darn good. Losing to Justice Sefilin wasn't great, but like I guess this whole U.S. Open tournament wasn't great because like he kind of had two NAs and then the near loss to not. But that's the thing. The Sefilin match was like that felt kind of similar to the Djokovic match, right? Where he was down two sets, but it was like kind of never in doubt.
I guess like anytime Paul is down two sets, like the match is in doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way of putting it.
Yeah.
But all right, let's talk a little bit about the betting. So what were some of your best bets
Um,
third round on?
I mean, I had a lot of really good bets, not a lot of amazements. My Rinky made me a lot of money.
Okay.
Especially the Rinky Fusevitz match.
That was a second round match. So we covered that on the last
Oh, we
pod.
already did.
Yeah.
But I did bet him in the first, second, third round. And then I bet Tiafoe against him in the 3-0 in the fourth round. So Rinky made me a lot of money. I think who else? Um, Other than that, not. I mean, I had a good tournament, but like I don't have any like good like themes or even like memorable. Oh, Evans winning a second. Alcaraz
That
was
was a
cool.
great bet. Fantastic bet. I think that was one of your best bets of the week.
Yeah.
For sure.
I had Arnaldo over Norrie, but I just didn't go aggressive enough. I had like whatever him to win. Oh, I had the set one money line like 300 or something, which
That
was
was
or
that was
200.
my best match. I had the set one money line. I had the regular money line. I had the -1.5 sets at +500.
Yeah.
And I had the money line and the under at
I
+625.
really should have taken the money line I really should have taken the -1.5 sets at 500. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. Um, Other than that, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
So a really good bet for me. I hit this in all the slams, but I love the 3-1 bet. That's been really good for me. I hit that in Draper versus Mo. I hit that in Tiafoe versus Monorino. I mean, sometimes it obviously didn't work. It's a +260 bet. I hit it in Djokovic versus Jiri. That was I bet 4 sets there, but it ended up being 5. I bet
but that's the problem with that
Alcaraz.
bet, right? Like, is that like like you can actually get it wrong either way. Like you can like
Yeah, But I feel like more often than not, it goes 4 sets out of like if one player is significantly better, they might dip for a set, but they're not going to dip for two. That's my
I hear what you're
mindset.
saying.
So I'd rather play the 3-1 line and get the plus 300 odds than play the like the minus 1.5 sets line.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear
Because
you.
like I think winning in straight sets in a best of 5 match
It's
is
really hard to do.
it's
I
really,
agree.
really hard.
I agree.
So I mean I hit it also in Rublev versus Draper, which is good. Didn't hit it in Djokovic versus Fritz. Didn't hit it in Medvedev versus Rublev, which was a play of the day. But like overall, it's good. Like if I'm hitting, like 40% of those, like that's a good
Oh, it's amazing.
night,
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing.
So, and I believe I did during this tournament. So, and then thanks again, Match.9 for the shout out. But like the no tiebreak bet, that was very successful for me this tournament. Not so
Yeah.
much the last couple matches, but leading up to that, it was very successful. I hit it in
Well, there were
Medvedev.
a lot of just really boring matches. You know what I mean? Like not boring, but really one-sided matches. And like, yeah, I think the Heat had a lot to do with that. Like it just seemed like
Yeah,
guys just really couldn't like last for a whole set, like physically and mentally. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
it
very
takes
good.
a lot to get a set to a tiebreak, especially on these courts, which are not that great.
Well, the stadiums, right, where they've played pretty much everything after the third round, have played slower. I
Mhm.
think the outer courts still play a little faster, but you're right. In these rounds after the first couple rounds, basically everything in singles is on a stadium court.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean so that bet was very, very successful for me. It even hit in like Zverev Sinner and that went 5 sets. Um,
yeah.
so
All right. Well, I
on
guess with that,
come on, Watanuki. What the frick? You had set point, you choked that away, and then now you get broken at 5-all. Idiot.
so he's gonna lose. He's gonna be like 21 or
Lose.
something,
It's gonna be
22.
6-3, 7-5. I'm gonna lose my over.
Yeah.
Ah, god damn it.
Um.
All
So
right,
yeah,
so
on to the Medvedev Djokovic final.
yep.
So the super exciting match. The spread that I'm seeing, the latest spread is 4.5. The money line is minus 255 for Djokovic, plus 215 for Medvedev,
Mm-hmm.
and the over under is 39.5.
I see 39. Did that go up to 39.5?
Oh, I mean I'm seeing 39. I mean, it might be different depending on what book. Oh no, it looks like it went down to 39 now. Okay,
39.
you're right. Yeah, down from 39 after 39.
Okay. So what are your initial thoughts of this?
Yes, I'm playing the Medvedev money line. I don't think it's amazing value, but I think Medvedev's 1 out of 3, maybe a little bit better to win this match. Which plus 200 is 1 out of 3. So I think this line should probably be like minus 215 plus 170, something in that range. So I've got the Medvedev money line here. Other than that, that's all I have. I
That's
think
all.
this is like, yeah, like I have some other leans on the props and stuff, but I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. I think you're going to carry a lot more of this narrative. I mean, I think it's like we've seen this matchup so many times. I think that it's a really fun matchup to watch, but I also think it makes it a little bit easier for the books to put something on. You know what I mean? And put fair lines on because like we've just seen it so much. Like,
Well, I think that if like, since we've seen it so much, like, don't you think that Djokovic would be a smaller favorite than this?
no, because what is the head to head? 9-5?
Let me see.
I think the head to head is 9-5.
It's 9-5, but like you got to really
And that feels about right.
well, Medvedev did beat him in clay in Monte Carlo, and that's their only. Oh, and Djokovic beat him on grass, so I guess it's really a wash on hard court. I guess you could throw away the 2017 meeting. So that's like you throw away 2 losses from Novak and 1 from Medvedev. So it's
And
really
it's 7-4. It still is close to 2-1.
7-4.
This is best of 5, so it favors the better player a little bit more just because there's less variance in the match. Like, I don't know. I think this is pretty close to 2
Now,
to
are
1.
you equating the 21 US Open purely due to Djokovic nerves and like all that pressure for winning the calendar slam? Or are you putting that sum on just Medvedev like good play as well? Like how much are you weighing each of those variables?
I mean, the 2021 US Open match isn't really playing a whole ton into my right. There's 13 head to heads, right? Like there's you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of times we've seen these guys go up against each other.
Mm-hmm.
To see that both guys, and we've seen this matchup enough to like, I don't know. Well, like I don't necessarily like. I'm not looking at like one of these head to heads any more than the other.
Okay. There's been a lot of close matches though. The Astana one was close. The Paris one in 21 was close. That was 3
Yeah, so
sets.
there have been a few close
ATP
ones. I
Finals
mean,
was 7-6 in the third. I mean, even
okay,
the
so like half
Dubai.
of them close.
Yeah, but then like the ones that are not close, they split.
Well, but not really, right? Like, yeah, I you kind of go through all of them, but like, I don't know.
There was a 3-3 for Medvedev in 2020. Yeah, I guess the Australian Open was a 5-2-2. The
I mean,
Dubai
I
one
think
was
it's close
1-4.
to 2 to 1. Like, and that's not insane. That doesn't mean that Medvedev has no chance, right? Like, that's better than anybody else has against Djokovic by far.
Yeah, this is not Zverev or Casper Ruud or Tsitsipas, right?
And it's not even like Zverev or Sinner against Alcaraz,
Right.
right? Like this is like this. I think both guys will win a set. I think this will be competitive. Um, yeah, like
I probably would have hit Medvedev at anywhere better than plus 185, plus 190.
so then we're not very far off. And that's 10 cents. And you're talking about like a 35% chance versus me saying it's 33. Like that's pretty darn close. I mean,
Yeah,
basically
it's pretty
opinion.
close. It's pretty close. I mean, there's no way I would hit Djokovic at minus 255. Like, I think that's crazy. So I think the line is slightly off. I think the over-under is quite high. Like, I think there is a possibility of a lot of lopsided sets here. Like 6-2,
The
6.
problem is there's also a possibility this goes 5. I think it's a pretty good over under.
Yeah, that's probably where you have to set it, but like I wouldn't like go under. I wouldn't go over here either.
But I wouldn't go under either.
Yeah, I don't think that that's an attackable line. I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
This is a really hard match to attack. Like with the exception of of the of the 215. And like I said, I don't think the 215 is like crazy attackable. Like I think there's like a little bit of EV there, but it's not anything insane. Like
how about Medvedev first set money line at plus 145?
I don't think there's anything special about the first set here. These guys.
Yeah, there's no real pattern here. There have been like some matches where one guy won the first set and then the other guy actually came back.
Yeah.
There was some
And
lopsided.
on the stats, on the stats, Djokovic actually been a little bit better than this 9-4 would even indicate. I think when it comes to like the service points one, return points one, there's a pretty significant edge for Djokovic. In
Okay.
general, Djokovic has played quite a bit better this season than Medvedev has.
I mean, he's been better in the slams, but like if you consider the February March run, like Medvedev was excellent, right? So it's like I don't.
Yeah, but Djokovic just didn't get to play, right? Like when has Djokovic not been amazing this year? When he was hurt during the clay season, that's it.
Yeah, that was it. That's true.
So
Yeah.
And it's so hard to evaluate Djokovic now, right? Because Djokovic is truly playing for slams. So like you almost can't evaluate anything from Djokovic except slams. He's just such a hard player to evaluate.
It's hard to evaluate Medvedev too, right? Like, is he going to come out and play the same level that he did against Alcaraz, or is he going to revert back to like third set O'Connell, you know,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
third set Baez? Like,
yeah. It's a tough match. It's like it's a really fun match to watch. I think both guys will play decently well. Um, but I think the book, I don't know.
I mean, I actually think that the key shot in this matchup is the Medvedev serve. Like, he needs to win some free points on serve to really legitimately have a chance. Like, that's why he, played so well in that 21 final, because he served so amazing. Like, he also served so well against Alcaraz. Like, the serve actually is a bigger basis of Medvedev's game than people make it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would agree with that. But I also don't think that like I think it's really hard to guess how well he's going to serve.
It is. He could
So
serve.
here's a question. I think the roof is going to be closed. I
Yeah,
think if the roof has closed, like I've heard a lot of conflicting opinions on this. I don't think it really helps either guy that much if the roof is closed.
the MP9 guys were saying that it slightly favors Djokovic.
But I see. I would say I don't necessarily agree. I think it favors the Medvedev serve, but I think it favors Djokovic because I think he would prefer slightly cooler conditions just from like a physical. But I think so would Medvedev.
I don't really think
So
I don't really think it favors either guy, because like if you look at their indoor matches, those are the matches that have actually been the closest. Like the ATP finals, Astana was indoors, Paris was indoors. Those were like tight three setters. Um so like I
yeah,
actually
I mean,
most of their indoor matches have gone the distance. So I think it actually will create better tennis, and like I think
yeah, I
they're
think it's better for both guys. I think that's my answers, and I think
yeah,
it's better for both guys. I think it slightly helps Medvedev because I think he needs, to your point, man. I think he does need to serve more.
yeah.
So I think it's a slight advantage to Medvedev in my mind because of that. But then again, Djokovic doesn't like. But yeah, I don't know. But then yeah, I think it's no. I think it's basically. The more I think about it, the more I think it doesn't really matter that much.
Doesn't matter. It more matters like who plays better on the day. Like that's that's really what this matchup comes down to. You know? Like
Yeah, yeah.
Djokovic, I think
And
it
each of them is going to try to find tactics to beat the other one with, right? Throughout the match. But like, yeah.
I think what gets Djokovic in trouble in this matchup is a lack of patience.
So
You
I
know?
disagree with that. I actually think what gets Djokovic in trouble is Medvedev's ability to put Djokovic into like strange positions on the court that other guys don't. So if Medvedev's able to use the angles, like if Medvedev's able to hit those like flat angle shots, those like flat kind of short angle shots that like
Hmm.
almost bounce twice before they get to the baseline, I think that just puts Djokovic in like weird positions that he's not used to. And that's when you might see like the lack of patience start to kind of come out because he's not used to those positions.
Well, I think the lack of patience, as you said, the lack of patience is a consequence of what Medvedev does. And Medvedev does that against everyone. So I think in this matchup, that's what gets Djokovic in trouble. Because also Medvedev is like when he goes into full octopus mode, he just doesn't miss, right? Like we saw that like Alcaraz struggled with that in the second set, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
anyone in the world is going to struggle with that. Like it's just incredible, you know?
Yeah.
So and then Djokovic is just going to like, he's going to be forced to go too big. And that's when he gets into trouble. So I think that's the
Yeah, I guess a little bit, but I think it's also the fact that Medvedev can put the ball. I think both these guys can put the ball in weird positions on the court for the other one. I think that's part to me. That's the most interesting part of this matchup is how well both guys use like the entire court. And from hitting into the opponent's court, they both hit into so many different places on the opponent's court. And you might disagree because Medvedev doesn't really do the drop shot, but I think Medvedev uses the angles about as well as anyone.
He does. You think he does a better job of that than Alcaraz?
The angles, yeah. Like the short angle, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Alcaraz obviously like Medvedev doesn't really use the drop shot very often. He did it a little bit against Alcaraz a few times, but
Just
he doesn't
doesn't
use
hit
the
a very
drop.
good one.
What?
He just doesn't hit a very good one.
Yeah, but he doesn't. But yeah, he doesn't really use it that much. But he doesn't. He almost doesn't need to because a lot of it's really hard to play back against Medvedev in rallies because he plays those angles, those short angles, and like if you play too
Yeah.
far back, it gets really hard to play against those short angles. So honestly, in terms of props, I went through these. I don't really have a whole lot I like. I would lean towards some of the break props, but they're probably more leans. It's really interesting. If you look at both these guys as players overall, they're both really, really good on the return and not as good. You know, they're probably both better on their return games than their service games. Although Djokovic is quite elite at both. But if you look at their head to head, they have a really hard time breaking each other in their head to head. So I think Dubai was
So you're saying that in their head to head, there haven't been a lot of breaks?
yeah. So like for instance, that's
It's a
4 in
match where
2
you
sets,
think there
right?
would be a lot of breaks, but like I guess not. Like I remember the Adelaide match, there was only like 2 breaks.
Yeah.
Let me see the Nido ATP Finals 1 and 22. Yeah, there's only 3 breaks. So you're saying that hitting like are you saying like hitting under on break props is like a good
No, I'm staying away because like there's too much evidence. Like there's just too
Yeah.
many conflicting things. Like the head to head indicates less breaks, but overall as players more breaks. This is indoors, so maybe better serving. But then also both guys will be fresher. So like there's just a lot of things going in a lot of directions here. So I don't know. It's really tough. It's tough to know how to weight things.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see it here, but I did see like a no tiebreak bet at even money. I'm gonna hit that.
Ooh, so I don't like that. Because I think like I understand the logic. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's probably close to a break even. So you know what? I have a lean there. Like I think it was at like plus 110 when I saw it, plus 115.
Mhm.
Which I think like is pretty close to a zero EV bet at that point.
Yeah, plus
Um,
115.
yeah. Like if it was plus 120 or 125, I would actually hit it. Like 115 is like probably my break even there. Because if you look, I think they've had a few tie breaks. I know they played 2 in the World Tour Finals. One in
Yeah, but
Astana.
that's it, really.
Yeah, one in Astana.
One is done. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, I just nerves are gonna come into play late in the set. Like a lot needs to go right for it to get to a tiebreak, and I'm willing to take that variance. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, I look. I mean, I would take the yes before. Like, I would never take the no. I don't hate the bet on the yes. I don't think I think it's pretty close to a zero EV bet.
I mean, you would rather take the no tiebreak than the yes tiebreak.
No, I would way rather take the yes tiebreak. Yeah, I would rather take the way rather take the no than the yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty close, right? Because you're giving up juice every time you make a bet. I think
Right.
the no is pretty close to a zero EV play.
Okay.
Which again means I think the line is like 20 cents off or something on it. I mean, like that's the problem, right? These lines have to be like somewhat far off in order to
Yeah.
offset the juice.
Well, I'm glad you talked me off the break props because I was gonna hit the overs here, but like
I
now,
was too until I was at the head to head, and
yeah,
I was like, and then it's gonna
yeah.
be
Now that you
indoors, so like
point
this
that
game
out,
might serve
that's
better.
that's true. That's true. How about the tie on the amount of breaks to serve at plus 750?
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting. I hadn't even thought of that one. I'll need to think about that one a little bit more. I don't know. Got to think about it.
Okay. I think I'm gonna hit it. I think that that's good enough.
It
Um,
might be. At first glance, it doesn't look terrible.
I think that's better than taking a side here, especially the joke. I mean, Djokovic minus 250. That's ridiculous. Um, Medvedev plus 250, but like, yeah, I mean, we think Djokovic is a slightly better player, right? So like,
Yeah, I don't. The Tyler doesn't look like a
uh,
terrible thought at first glance.
yeah. Um, I don't mind 4 sets here at plus 175. I think 4 sets is the most likely outcome here. No,
I think it's kind of weak odds,
you think it's weak.
but it's something to look at. I could consider that. I think I was gonna say. Oh, this is up now. Set with most games. I don't really have a play there, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's too much luck involved there.
Yeah.
Duration of the first set, I'd probably lean under 47.5 minutes. Because like Medvedev plays quick, or he plays quick between points. I know Djokovic plays relatively slow, but like, I don't know.
A lot of that's gone away too now with the serve clock, right? Like a lot of this like quick, slow stuff has gone away with
Yeah,
the serve clock.
that's true.
Um,
How about the aces? I know you commented on the MP9 pod. Um,
okay, so we can talk. This is a good discussion point. I hate this idea that Djokovic is hard to ace. Like he's not like he's a great returner. He's the best returner in the history of the game. But like he can be aced. Like he plays like most of the time, right? Like sometimes he'll play further back if he has to. But like most of the time he plays pretty far up, and like I don't know. My opinion, like the biggest thing that stops you from getting aced is standing way back and being tall.
yeah, that's Medvedev's full strategy when returning, right? Like he wants to take the ace away from the equation.
Right. Whereas Djokovic wants to be more aggressive on the return. So like I but the book had but like the book has this pretty well built in.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't I hear what you're saying about Djokovic. Like not being hard to ace. Like yes, you can get your aces against him. I just think that people feel a lot of pressure. And because he returns so well, it forces players to go closer to their target, which lowers their first serve percentage, which lowers their aces.
I mean, Steve, you could easily verify this, right? So first of all, like Djokovic gives up statistically more aces than the average ATP player by quite a bit, and this has been true now for 3 years. Like his ace against percentage is around 10% the last 3 years on hard courts. The
Mhm.
ATP average is 8. So that, I mean that's a pretty that's 3 years of data, right? So it's pretty
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah.
Um, the like the first serve percentage against.
Hmm.
Oh, I can't get this. I thought I was gonna get this. Darn, I can't get this. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's yeah. I can only get the first serve return one percentage. But he's but yeah, you know what it comes down to, Manny? Again, like we talked about this, it's what we said in the pod. Like I think there's like 5 to 10 guys at the ATP tour that actually adjust their strategy based on opponent. Like everybody else is just a drone.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably right. I mean, Medvedev had 16 aces in 3 sets in the 21 final.
Okay. But if you check out the other match, I think it's way lower.
Yeah, 16 in the Nito ATP Finals in 2020.
Okay.
Dubai this year. Medvedev had 8 aces.
And 62 points, yeah.
Adelaide, it was 5-5. Paris, 7-6.
You gotta look at how many serves they actually chances they have to actually serve the ball too, right? Like the problem is I think Medvedev is good to get an ace about 10% of the time. But
Yeah,
like the line is 11 and a half or 12 and a half for
yeah,
Medvedev.
with Medvedev, I'd probably lean over.
I mean, see, I think this is pretty close. Like, I actually would probably lean the under, but I don't. It's not even a lean. Like, it's just like I think this line is pretty well set. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, I think
And honestly, I think the point is like it's pretty well set, and these are all just variations of the over under at this point.
pretty much. I agree.
Like,
I agree with that. I think the better thing to target here is doubles. I like the overs on actually both
so
of them.
this is really hard because like Medvedev's been doubling a ton this tournament,
Yeah,
but here I actually did look. I think the last three matches, the last three head to heads, Medvedev's doubles have been really low.
yeah, but I'm looking with doubles. I look more at like recent double trends more than like head to head because like
See,
no
I'd
one
be
tries to
scared here
double.
because I feel like Medvedev's doubles are like strategic doubles. They're either strategic doubles or they're
Yeah.
like he just tanks the set and goes away doubles. I don't see him tanking in this match. I know like tanking a set. Like I know, there's been probably some opinion contradicting that, but I don't know. I think that like I don't know. I think I don't see that happening. I think most of their sets, if you go to their head to head, I think most of their sets have been very tight. Have they played any 6-2 sets or many? They've played a couple,
Yeah,
but
two
not many.
Australian Open. Not many.
Yeah.
Not many.
So like I don't know, man, and like
Well, look at this match that they played in 2019 in Cincinnati because that was a match where Djokovic won the first set and Medvedev realized that he couldn't do much, so he just went bombs on every second serve. I don't know if you remember this match.
yeah, but they only had four doubles.
He only had 4 doubles. Um, but I honestly like watching Medvedev. I can't remember him doubling more than he is now. And I agree that he doubles in those two instances that you mentioned. But I just think he's going to be forced to go to that strategy at some point in this match, and it's going to draw some doubles. Like I really like the over, especially if I think it's going to go 4 sets. Like he had 10 doubles against Alcaraz in 4 fairly quick sets.
Well, one was a tiebreak, but yeah, I hear you. Overall, like if you add the 4 sets games together, it wasn't that high of a number. Look, I see the logic. I just, oh man, yeah, I get the logic. I'm not going to bet it. That doesn't mean I can't see it going over. It means like I could see it going over. I can see it going under. I can make an argument both ways.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see. I mean, Djokovic doubled 3 times against Shelton, 5 against Fritz, 3 against Gojo.
I mean, Djokovic is pretty consistent for a doubles percentage somewhere. It's probably roughly 5 per 100 points. And Djokovic is probably good for that. And you can probably feel pretty good that he's good for like 4 to 5 doubles per 100 points.
Yeah.
But that's what the line is.
Is this at 3.5? But I don't like the hitting the Djokovic over on doubles because I think I wouldn't go under either, to be honest, because like I think it could be a competitive match. I don't like the over here just because Medvedev doesn't put that much pressure on you on the second serve. Like he's always standing far back. He doesn't really.
No, and I think Djokovic is like the question with Djokovic is like because I do feel like he's not immune to getting nervous, and I feel like his doubles come when he gets tight.
Yeah, I mean he gets tight too. He's human. Um, but it's really only in those instances, right? It's really never anytime else, unless he
Yeah,
just missed
yeah,
the spot, you know, like
yeah.
the second.
Yeah, I mean, I think the under could be a good. Like, this is the problem. I think either one could be a good look because, like, it might be a tad low, but I also think like against Medvedev, like why wouldn't Djokovic make 70% of his first serves against Medvedev? His first serve's not getting it. He's not getting attacked, and he's not going to get on returns versus Medvedev anyways. So like, what are you going for? Just roll in 70% and like don't and make sure you don't double it all.
I mean, is Djokovic
He's
gonna
not going to roll in his first
follow?
serve, but you can take off 5 miles an hour, make 70%, and that makes a huge difference. And I don't know why you wouldn't do that against Medvedev because it's not like you're going to get hit. Like, especially if he doesn't, if Djokovic isn't going to serve in volley, which he doesn't do much of, he does a little bit of it, but not much. Like, you're not going to see. I don't know.
Yeah. See, that's what I think Alcaraz should have done. Like Djokovic is going to use the serve and volley, but he's not going to use it nearly as much as Alcaraz did.
I
Right?
agree.
You
I
got to
agree.
pick your spots and when to use it. And I think Djokovic is going to put a clinic on when to use it and when not to. Um, yeah, I like the over on Medvedev though. I think 7.5 is quite low considering how much he's been doubling recently.
I hear the argument, but I think you can make an argument both ways here, so I'm going to stay away.
Actually, you know what might be better is the handicap -4.5 on the handicap. I like that better than the total.
Yeah, I'm not
Not
on this
hitting
at
that.
all.
Okay.
Yeah, this is it's really a shame. I just can't find anything I love to bet here.
First serve percentage.
No,
Um,
you're low for Djokovic. I think the over 62.5 first serve percentage could be a play here. It's another lean. I'm not going to play it, but it's another lean. I actually might play that. That might be my only other prop bet of the day. Might just be that first serve percentage play over 62.5.
it seems low for Djokovic.
Well, it's
Especially,
not. Like, again, statistically, it's not. But like in this matchup, why would he try to over attack on the first serve?
I'm just looking at like head to head. I mean, even in the lower one, 63% in Astana. That seems like the lowest one in the last like 5 or 6 matchups. That's
Yeah. I mean,
that's
I don't see why he wouldn't just roll in 65,
I
70% and
know.
like so I mean I'm that's a potential play for me. It still is like it's at least a lean, if not a play. I'm not sure if I'll
For
play it
me,
or
it's a
not,
sure
but yeah.
play. What about Medvedev here? 61% is the line.
I think that's a pretty good line. Like it's not like I don't think he's gonna get that nervous. It's not like he hasn't played
Yeah,
Djokovic
I know.
before.
58% in the US Open final when they played in 21. Djokovic was at 54%, but I mean Djokovic was like very nervous in that match, so I'm you kind of not really taking that one into account too much. I'll probably just go with the Djokovic side of it, the over
Yeah.
62.5%. I wish they had first serve percentage points one.
I'm sure it'll be up by tomorrow sometime. I think they're just slow in getting it up.
Yeah, could be. Um, I didn't look at all these props, so let me just take a quick peek.
Yeah.
Any like real long shots that you liked?
Um, it's not a real long shot, but Djokovic should be up 4-2 in each of the first two sets. I don't think it's a bad price. I think it's like 10-1. I don't think that's horrible.
Okay.
Again, it's more of a lean for me than a play. Um, yeah, everything else is really tough, man. I don't like any of the stuff where like the players to like hold serve or anything. So I do think there could be some breaks.
Yeah, there could be
Like
holes.
this is the problem in this matchup is like it's I just I don't know, man. It's tough. stuff. Because the other problem with this match was like both these guys are like so good tactically. I don't know if they're going to try to find something new strategically to do. They have, I don't know what they could do. They've already played each other 13 times, but I'm sure Novak's looking for something.
Yeah, do you think Novak watches Alcaraz and how he played Medvedev in like Indian Wells and Wimbledon and try to implement some of those?
Slightly, but I also think like the whole world knows that, right? Like I like you have to live in a cave not to know that, not to know that. Like,
True, true.
um,
It's easier said than done. Like you kind of know how to
it
attack
is, yeah.
but like to actually do it is very, very difficult.
Well, that's why Medvedev beats so many guys, right? Because like, like
Yeah.
Carlos has the tactics to do that, but he also has the athleticism and the ability to hit all the different shots.
Right, right.
But yeah, I may not end up propping this too heavy. It might just be plus 215 money line, and that might be it for me.
Okay. I actually like the Medvedev to win and no tiebreak at plus 600. Because like I feel like Djokovic is so good in tiebreaks that if the match gets to a tiebreak, like or if there is a tiebreak,
That's interesting. It's an interesting take. It's a very interesting take. It's probably another lean for me, not a play, but another lean. But it's an interesting take.
I almost prefer that than the actual money line at like plus 215. Because I almost feel like if Medvedev is going to win, there's not going to be a tiebreak. But yeah.
I don't necessarily like love or hate. I think they're pretty similar.
Okay. I mean, everything else, I'm just skimming these. It doesn't look great, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably just have like,
Sure.
I'm going to have the tie on the breaks of serve. That's my long shot at plus 750. I'm going to have Medvedev double false handicap minus 4.5. I'm going to have the Medvedev money line at plus 215. And I'm going to have the Medvedev to win and no tiebreak at plus 600. And the Djokovic first serve percentage over 62.5%. I think those
Yeah,
are
I'll probably end up doing the Djokovic first serve over 62.5. That's it. Everything else to me is there's some leans, but no plays.
okay. No play of the day, I guess, right? Because like they're not like super high confidence.
Yeah, no play today.
No official play. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, then we'll be back with official plays come what, Davis Cup next week?
Yeah. No, Davis Cup this upcoming weekend. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Yep.
probably pod again Wednesday or Thursday night and do a preview pod for Davis Cup. Well, how does that work? Because it's a weekend, right? They just do it over the weekend.
No, it's a full week. It starts on Tuesday and goes to Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you hate the Davis Cup format, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. A few other things. So official plays, we are up 31.65 units since we started on June 17th. For the US Open, since we're done with official plays and we don't have one tomorrow, we are up 10.35 units for just these 2 weeks. That's pretty good. I would say that's a good ratio.
Really good.
We started amazing, and like the middle part of the tournament was also amazing, but then like at the end we kind of faltered in the quarters and semis,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And then let's talk about our second serve challenge. I think
Manny won, and the Djokovic and the Clowns did not win.
It was close though, right? I think for you,
Yeah, I mean 1%'s a pretty big gap actually in this challenge, though. It's much bigger than it sounds. Like a 1% gap, in winning second serves is it's the difference between like it's just like being like 20th and 25th in the world, so 20th and 30th. Like it's pretty significantly different.
But so your team has had less second serves. You're 437 of 838.
Yep.
My team is 559 of 1,053, but I'm done. You still have Djokovic tomorrow against Medvedev.
Yeah,
So
but I need to do something ridiculous. We need to be like 21 out of 25 or something. I was looking at it. It's like it's pretty insane.
21 and 25.
Roughly, give or take. Like I need him to be like, because the way I look at it is like I'm like 1% down, right? So I'm like 8 points down on the second serve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's versus like an average of 50% to make up 8 points. That's a lot for
Especially
one
in this
guy.
matchup where Medvedev is going to have looks to break, and he's
I
gonna
guess, but against anybody, I mean, like Shelton went 37% on second serve against freaking Shelton. So
I mean, that's really where you lost it, that match against Shelton. Like
it
Joe was
is. It
11 for
is.
32
It
on
is.
um second serve points, which is like terrible. Um, all right, yeah. So before we go, any NFL bets tomorrow?
No, I really don't bet football as much. I don't like. I don't know, man. Like it's just such a heavily bet market. I think it's just really sharp market to bet into.
Smart market. Okay.
Like I don't know enough to bet. Like I like watching football, but I don't like follow it nearly as closely as tennis. You know what I mean? To like, and there's
Yeah,
just so many more variables in football. Like so many more variables that like I don't know.
there are.
I'm
But
sure there's people who do it, but like
I
I don't
actually
know,
think in
man.
the first couple weeks of the year when there's less like data from each of the teams in that season, like I feel like you can get an edge on the book.
But
Slight,
how? Like just like how? Like, because you don't have any data then. Like, so like what? You're just like based on your
yeah,
knowledge
but
of football.
the books don't have data either, right? So their lines might be off. So like I think betting like home dogs, for example, like slight dogs, like not dogs with like huge talent deficits, but like like plus 130
But
home
like,
dogs.
who's a pick you like for tomorrow?
Like I like the Dolphins plus 3 against the Chargers, or Dolphins money line against the Chargers.
Okay.
I like the Steelers against the Niners plus 110 at home. It's like it's a Mike Tomlin rah Mike Tomlin spot. I mean, yeah, it's if you're going by that logic, it's probably not the best, but like the books don't really have any idea either. So I feel like you can get value on the underdog.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I guess. I have a
So
hard time believing the Steelers are. I don't understand how the Steelers are a better team than the Niners, but like,
yeah, yeah. Well, all right. I mean, this is that's why we do a tennis podcast here, not football. uh all right, so that does it. So enjoy the final, everyone. It should be a great match. And we'll be back next week to do some Davis Cup, hopefully. And this tennis season keeps going on. The tennis never stops until end of November. So there's going to
yep.
be Zhuhai and Shenzhen, I think, are two 250s, right? And then we go into Shanghai, and then there's like Tokyo and Beijing, and like
Yeah,
so
and we have two. There's two masters up, right? There's Shanghai and there's
Paris.
Paris,
Yep.
and then there's ATP finals. Those are the biggest events, and there's a couple of 500s out there.
Yeah,
And there's some
Basel and
250s.
Vienna, right? There's Laver
Yeah.
Cup, which is your
Yeah, it's
favorite.
basically Asia and then the European. It's basically Asian swinging European
Yeah.
indoor.
Yep. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right, guys, everyone have a good night.
See ya.